I'm about to share with you the 5 foods that I avoid and I keep out the house because not only do they make me gain fat and make me overeat, they also have a negative impact on my energy and just have a negative impact all in all on my behaviors with food. So not only am I going to share the foods, I'm also going to share you what I eat instead. You're going to love this episode. Enjoy. Number 1 is nuts and nut butters. Now, people say nuts are healthy. And yes, you get some nourishment from them. Monounsaturated fats, etc., etc. They're also extremely calorie dense, and you don't need them necessarily to get the right balance of nutrients in. You have a handful of nuts, literally. It'll blow your mind. It's like 500 calories, 600 calories. And then forget about nut butters. Let me let you in on a little secret. Last year, I was basically eating peanut butter with my Greek yogurt pretty much every evening for around about, well, it probably went on for like 7-8 months. Now, I stayed lean whilst doing it. What I found was I was cutting out things like avocado and other fats that I would even get from beef mince, which are essential fats, which are going to give you way more nutritional value than any nut butter, especially peanut butter, because peanuts are actually not technically a nut, by the way. Don't know if you knew that. It's a legume, a lentil. But anyway, moving on. So yeah, I was cutting out other whole foods just so I could fit in my peanut butter. Again, it's not all about just staying lean. I stayed lean when I was doing it because what I was doing was having one meal of my usual one meal at lunchtime. Then in the evening, I was just having Greek yogurt, nut butters, and fruits. But I'm missing out. It's not really as complete a meal as having meat, especially grass-fed beef, for example, and maybe some carbohydrates like potatoes, vegetables, white rice even. It's not as complete a meal as that. Even if you just have steak, right, for example, you're going to get way more nourishment than you would from having like a bowl of Greek yogurt and a bunch of fruit and nut butters. But it is good to rotate those foods so you don't get bored, right? And I like my food just like anyone else. So anyway, that's one food, especially nuts, right, and nut butters, that you can very easily overeat. Now, I found myself, throwing in almond butter, right? So I was starting to just, okay, peanuts, I know I don't get much out of them, so let me have some almond butter instead, because at least the properties are better in terms of the fats that you get in them. But then what I'm doing is I'm just having a spoon with peanut or almond butter on there, spoonful, a massive tablespoon. And that's another thing people do as well, right? They say, I'm having a teaspoon of nut butters. They're not really. They're having a tablespoon or two, right? And they're just lying to themselves all the time, just mindless. And you're packing away like thousands more calories over the space of a month. You're having thousands more calories that you don't need necessarily. So I found myself doing that. And I found it to be a bit of an addiction. It was purely just the mouth pleasure that I was tasting, that I was chasing. And then I found myself not even wanting to have Greek yogurt and fruit without having like peanut butter or almond butter, for example. So then I thought, you know what? This is getting a bit silly. Yes, I can stay in shape physically, but it's not the fuel that my body really needs to thrive. So I started having a complete meal in the evening instead of that. And that's just something you got to be really mindful of. If you're looking to get lean and stay lean, I always say just to cut peanut butter out and don't keep it in the house. Now, some people, for example, I've got a few clients who can have a little tiny bit and they're fine. They can maintain, they can stay on track. But 90% of people, if you keep those things in your house, you're going to overeat them and you're going to eat them for the sake of it, right? Even nuts, you keep them in the house. And you can overeat them very easy. Very easy. You go into the cupboard, you get some cashews, you get some peanuts, or you get some almonds. Boom, you've just packed in like 400 or 500 calories. Again, if you can do these things in moderation and you're tracking and you're meticulous with that, and you can fit it into your calories for your target, great. But most people are going to overeat those things, including myself. Number 2 is in no particular order, is granola. I've talked about this before. And with granola, it's a UPF, right? It's an ultra-processed foods. It's very calorie dense. It tastes phenomenal, right? Now, you can get one. There's a shop here in Bondi where you can get better quality stuff where it's natural ingredients. But even that, and the good thing with that, by the way, is a shop here. Shout out, if you live in Bondi, by the way, it's a place called Scoop. If you do want to have like dark chocolate and like more health foods, it's a way better option. It's much better ingredients. For example, they've got like granolas in there. I'm not promoting this. I'm not promoting this at all. I only have the granola every now and then. I go in there for my 100% dark chocolate. Just a little disclaimer there. I don't want to promote granola. I'm trying to send you the other way here, ladies and gents. Anyway, in there, we'll get this kind of more natural one. It's got buckwheat in there. It's got like maybe 6 ingredients, all natural stuff. And the good thing with that is you can have the amount that you need for one portion. You put it into your little brown bag, you put it on the scales, you weigh it, you buy it. You don't buy a whole box, right? Or a whole big bloody, even 500 gram bag that you get, or a 1 kilo bag. Recipe for disaster. And granola is like the biggest no-no. People think it's healthy, and you're just packing in so many calories. You have a few, like you put that in with your yogurt, for example, right? And even if you had a few teaspoons or whatever, if you had a little sprinkle, and you do that every now and then, it's fine if you stay within your calories, right? But if you're not someone that's aware of those things, and you find yourself not losing fat or even gaining weight and being frustrated with that, granola is not a health food. It's just good marketing. So we need to be aware that with a lot of these foods, and by the way, I'm not trying to demonize these foods and say don't eat them ever again, right? But you've got to be strategic with them. Again, if I have it, and I'm going to give you an example, right? This month, I've actually cut out peanut butter and granola. Now, I don't have much of those foods at all. To be honest, with granola, like I say, I'll only have that one that I get in the store because I can moderate and have a small amount. And on average, I'll probably have that once every couple of months. It's very rare. And peanut butter, I don't really have that often anymore. It's probably, I don't know, maybe once every 2 weeks, I'll have a little bit as a treat with my yogurt. Not a little bit, I'll have a lot, actually. That's the problem. But my girlfriend, for example, she's cut out... she's just like on a mission now, right? Because we are getting married in October, right? And we're looking to go to Brazil to celebrate that at the end of the year, but that might be delayed a bit. Anyway, another conversation. She's on this kick right now where she's cut out chocolate. She's cut out peanut butter, granola. She's even cut out Greek yogurt because she's similar to me in a sense where we're not moderators. Like when I have Greek yogurt, I have the berries, and then I add more fruit like banana and apples. You don't need to have sugary fruits every single day. In fact, it's not ideal doing that. Loading up on fructose. And just from a behavioral standpoint, some people are fine doing this. I don't want to demonize fruit. That's the last thing I want to do. Fruit's great, but you don't need it every day. So it is good to abstain from sugar every now and then. So I try to have just Greek yogurt and blueberries every now and then because blueberries is really low in sugar, right? But the other fruits are higher in sugar. So what I find is myself stacking, right, with the Greek yogurt. So I'm stacking loads of different fruit, which is fine. But again, I can go overboard. Then I'm going back for another bowl sometimes because I'm having that fat and sugar. Yes, I'm having the protein from the Greek yogurt, which is a net positive because it helps blunt my appetite. But it's still a combination of fat and sugar. And yes, I'm getting the fiber from the fruit, which is obviously going to help keep me satiated. It's going to not give me as much of a spike with my blood sugar levels generally. But it's something you need to be aware of, right? So anyway, all that to say, I'm not having any peanut butter or granola this month. And to be honest, I don't even think about those things. It's not even a challenge for me. I just did it for the sake of it, right? Because it's like my girlfriend's doing her thing, so why not? But the reason I do that is because, again, I don't need it. And those things always make me eat more than I intend on doing, even at the level I'm at now, peanut butter and granola. And I always mix it. Well, I don't always, again, I don't have granola very often. But if I have granola, for example, which is more rare than peanut butter, I'm going to stack that with the peanut butter because it tastes way better. The mouth pleasure and the euphoria I get is much better. And look, this is why it's important for everyone to understand that I still love mouth pleasure, right? Yes, I look at food mainly as fuel, right? I'm in great shape all year round. I eat what my body needs for the most part, but I like to have my little sugar hit in the evenings, right? And my sugar is fruit and yogurt. You know what I mean? And like I said, I don't need it, but it's a great alternative. And I think that's like probably one of the best alternatives for anyone else. Just having Greek yogurt, depending on what your calories are, if you know what they are, or if you're looking to lose weight. For most people, I would say get a good quality low-fat one. I know they got a good one in America called Fage, right? Fage, the 0% one. That's one of the ones that's like minimally processed. It's high in protein, low in, and most of my clients like that one, and they'll have that with fruit and stuff. So it's lower in calories, the Greek yogurt. I have the normal one, not low fat, but I can get away with a lot more calories than most people because, I've got a lot more muscle on my body. I'm active. And my metabolism is roaring, essentially. My maintenance calories are like 3,500. So to give you an example of what I was looking for yesterday in the store, but they didn't have any, instead of granola, I was looking for cacao nibs instead, right? And again, if you have loads of cacao nibs, it's going to be pretty calorie dense. I'm not going to lie. I think even a small teaspoon would be at least 100 to 200 calories. Cacao nibs is just like 100, I believe it's like 100% cacao, right? That's what it is, little tiny nibs, because a lot of the times we want the texture, right? We want the crunch sometimes with those things. So I was hunting around the shop for cacao nibs yesterday, and I couldn't find it. They were sold out. So I was like, okay, that's a sign, right? Don't even bother buying them. And I just left it there, and I just had my my yogurt and fruit. So yeah, granola, loaded with calories. You can plow through 500 calories in a few minutes. and it's a dangerous game. If you get it, be strategic. If you do have access, like in Bondi, we have all these health food stores where you can get a small amount and keep it in the house. That's the thing. Have a small amount to eat, but don't store, right? And this is what I say to clients as well, is if you do want to have something, like you want to have some chocolate or whatever, right? Give yourself permission every now and then to do that, but have a small bar. Don't go and buy a family-sized bar. Or you want to have like a, I don't know, you want to have some ice cream or something, right? Don't go and buy a big tub of Ben and Jerry's, right? Buy a small tub. You've got to, because those foods are not designed to be moderated, none of these foods. So you won't moderate them, that's the chances, right? Because they're designed to be highly palatable and tasty and sell more product, right? So look, what I want you to do, because you're going to get a ton of value from this, is grab my free, I've created this shred method, right? It's a guide where it tells you, it's a blueprint essentially for shredding fats. It gives you an exact blueprint of what to do with calories and macros. Foods are all mapped out, and it's great. It's unbelievable. It's had hundreds of people get lean and actually be able to maintain that afterwards, right? I put a lot of time and effort into this. If you want that, I'm going to give, by the way, these things are not free, right? But I'm giving these things to you guys for free as a thank you. And because I want you to get results and be healthier. So click the link in the show notes and you can grab the shred method for free. So food number three, protein bars, right? Now some of these are going to be controversial. You're thinking, what? I thought we was going to say like cakes, chocolate, and all these kind of like UPF. I'll get to that. Don't you worry about that. But look, protein bars, something I've talked about before. Protein bars, again, fantastic marketing. They're being marketed because it's almost like with protein, it's being marketed as like a magical, macronutrient now, protein, right? And the reality is it's not magical. It's not healthy when you're having it in processed form. For example, a protein bar, it's loaded with nutrients. You pick up the bar. Ladies and gents, if you're not doing this right, I actually want you to focus more on ingredients than you do calories. Now, it's still really important at some point to be aware of calories, and tracking your food is a great tool to do that. But ingredients are everything because they're going to essentially determine how many calories you eat. When you next go to the store, go to the section where the protein bars are, right? And by the way, a little tip on this as well. Don't go to the supermarket hungry, right? You'll likely to buy more stuff that you wouldn't normally buy just because you're hungry, and you'll store it in the house and eat more, right? I find myself doing it. Anyway, protein bars, have a look, pick up a protein bar, have a look at the ingredient list on the back. Look at the back, look at the ingredients. The average protein bar is going to have at least 20 to 30, sometimes 40 ingredients in there, right? It's ultra processed food. In fact, it's not food. They shouldn't be called food. It's just an edible substance it's a chemically enhanced substance. That's what it is, right? So don't even look at those things with the ingredient list as long as your arm as real food, even protein bars. Now, can you get some better quality protein bars nowadays? Yes, there's some out there, but it's more of a behavioral thing. Why are you eating protein bars? Okay, every now and then if you're on the move or whatever, or let's be honest, when you eat a protein bar, if I eat a protein bar, there's one brand here that I'll grab every now and then, and I'll just do it as a treat. I'm looking at it because I want mouth pleasure. I don't trick myself into going, need to get my protein intake up. So now some people do that. It can help. If you're traveling for work, you're on the go, the odd good quality protein bar, I guess, could be okay. But you're always going to be way better off having like real food, like a good quality beef jerky, or just taking boiled eggs with you. You know what I mean? Like those foods keep you more satiated. Protein bars, again, the first thing they look at when they create things, even protein bars, is how can we get people to buy more of this product? Now, yes, a big selling point nowadays in the day and age we're in is health. Okay, if we can put some companies, we're talking like 5% of companies, by the way, let's put clean ingredients in there, right? So it's just better quality than all the other, trash that is out on the market. Great. And then the most important thing, how do we get, because you can make the healthiest protein bar in the world. If no one likes the flavor, you're going to die, your business, right? So we need to make it taste good. That's the first port of call. So just understand, be savvy when you are buying foods. Marketing is like, look, even if it's subconscious, when you go to the store, the way they market these foods is genius. They've got teams of people behind these products that are genius with marketing. And I got to give them credit for how good they are at making people, I'm down about this, right? This is why I'm here. I'm on the front line talking about this stuff because I'm passionate about helping people, lose fat, get healthy, improve metabolic health. but they've been so good at selling those products, which make people eat more and are making people fatter and sicker, right? So be mindful of that. But all that to say, protein bars, they're designed for flavor. And if you look at a little protein bar, it's bloody, it's small, it's 200 calories, 300 calories. Just eat a steak. You know what I'm saying? Get the nutrients in you. It's not about calories, it's about ingredients. And if I eat a protein bar, it's purely for mouth pleasure, and I want you to think the same way. Last resort, if you need one to hit your protein intake on the odd occasion, cool. But don't buy boxes and keep them in the house. I learned that mistake the hard way back in the day when I used to be sponsored by a company, when I used to binge eat. They used to give me boxes. Error. I ended up eating like 4 or 5 a day. Never do that, right? Anyway, so we got number 4. This is an obvious one, right? Bread. Now, obviously with bread, I get this question a lot. Is it cool to have the odd bit of bread here and there? Yeah, it's cool, right? It's cool every now and then to have a bit of bread, right? Fine. But again, you need to look at bread as empty calories and purely behavioral and mouth pleasure. Now, the calories that you're having through bread, the extra energy you're consuming, which you don't need, because bread is never essential, right? Yes, you can get better quality like sourdough, which is, if you get good quality stuff where it's like literally 2-3 ingredients in it, fermented, cool, all right. I'll let you have it. But with bread, white bread is obviously going to be worse in terms of blood sugar spike and stuff generally, but all bread is processed. It's UPF. Look at it as ultra-processed food. Most bread anyway, you can get the odd whatever, but how can you break free of eating bread? Because what I see is patterns. I always look at patterns in all the people I've coached. All the people I've coached over the years, the ones that ate bread regular, generally, now there's some who can get in great shape and they can have a bit of bread, fine. But most people, it becomes behavioral. Bread is UPF. There's normally a ripple effect. They normally want to eat other UPF, ultra-processed foods, and then those foods make you eat more. Plus, most ultra-processed foods, they're going to be not accurate with calories. If you're someone who's tracked calories, they're allowed to be 20% out on the label, which is crazy, right? Which means it's always going to be 20% less that they put on the label, calories, right, to sell more product again. So then not only are you eating more because they make you eat more if you're having too much of those UPF, but 2, they are out on calories, which means even if you're tracking, you're actually eating way more. So with calories, with clients, sometimes, especially if they're eating out, I'll get them to like overestimate the calories to play it safe, right? If they're tracking. So bread, break free of it. It'll change your life. Every now and then, yeah, great. Like enjoy yourself every now and then, right? You've got to have that flexibility. But if this is like a daily thing or even like, more than once or twice a week, you find yourself just having bread. Like let's say you got to the weekend, you're like, right, I'm going to have a bit of bread with my eggs and avocado and whatever it is. And do that Saturday, Sunday. And again, if you're staying within your calories and you're eating bread, don't get triggered by this, right? If you're winning and you're eating some bread and you're smashing your protein target, which is the most important thing, you're staying within your calories or whatever it is, or even if you're not tracking, you're continuously making progress, you've got a great relationship with food. I'm not speaking to you, my friend, right? I'm speaking to most people. And most people who eat bread regular, they tend to struggle to stay in shape because bread is empty calories and ultimately it can be a struggle. But that being said, there are people who eat protein, like high protein, and they have some bread regular and they constantly have protein from whole meat, for example. They get most of their protein from whole meat, eggs. They might have a bit of whey protein, and they have really high protein. Those people tend to do a little bit better because they're not hungry, because they're having the bread, but they're having plenty of protein. But even those people, again, it's the patterns. If you're eating too much of those foods, you're never going to be in great shape. You're never going to get that next level of health and leanness and where you want to go if you're having those regular, right? So for me, every now and then I'll have some, by the way. I'll have like a pizza. Maybe I'll have a pizza, probably about 2-3 times a year, right? And I love it, right? Every now and then. 2 to 3 times a year, literally. Breads, it's just rare that I have it. It's rare that I have it. It just doesn't appeal to me anymore because I broke free of it, right? But, other carb sources, potatoes, sweet or white potatoes, rice, white rice is better. Again, fruits, great. A bit of honey, as long as you're not having it by itself. Natural, real single ingredient carbohydrates are always going to be better than bread, right? So, yeah, okay, that's it to the last one. Now, the last one is kind of a broad one, right? It's all UPF. Ice cream, biscuits, Pringles. If anyone knows about Pringles in the UK, once you pop, you can't stop. That's their marketing thing, right? And that's true. Cookies, cake. Now, I'm going to give you some examples here, right? I think I mentioned before, the worst shape I was in was when I was eating loads of these foods on the weekends, right? So I was eating Ben and Jerry's. I would have Domino's cookies and pizza, all those kind of foods, and they were just making me overeat, right? I was eating like an absolute asshole every weekend for about 18 months to 2 years. You know, those foods don't register to me now as real food anymore, right? I just don't look at them like, ooh, I want to eat that. I look at it like it's like I've broken the hijacket of my brain, because that's what those foods do when you're eating too many of them. They hijack your brain, and it's the most commonly abused drug, right? Food is the most commonly abused drug on the planet, right? I just want to repeat that again. You can't argue with that, right? People are the obesity epidemic. It's crazy, right? Crazy. What is it? 40% of Americans are obese, and Australia is catching up now. UK is not too far behind, even in other countries now, right? Which they never really had any of these chronic illnesses like diabetes. And that's all related to other factors, but it's the quality of the foods people are eating, right? And it's not food. Look at these foods right? Every now and then, if you can have them in every now and then, right? And 90% of the food you eat in a Whole Foods, you're winning, my friend, right? But don't look at them as real food. Just look at them as mouth pleasure, euphoria, and chemically enhanced edibles, right? I just made that up on the spot. But let me give you an example, right? When I went away to a trip recently to Queenstown, I was eating, this woman she had these like cereals and stuff, right? And we were staying in this bed and breakfast. And I added them one day, right, to my yogurt in the evening. And I was like, oh my God, that's good, right? And I was eating obviously more than I intended, blah, blah, blah. And that week I was like, wow, I justified it because I was eating loads of those cereals just in the evening after my meal with my yogurt. And I got leaner, right? But then because those foods are so subtly addictive, I actually then started justifying in my mind. I'm like, ooh, okay. And this is me, right? I'm really aware. I was like, oh, okay, well, I can factor them in. Not that I would do it when I got home. I'm like, I can eat this every day. I'm getting leaner. The only reason I was getting leaner is because I was just doing way more steps. I was skiing, walking. Actually, some days I wasn't eating hardly anything in the daytime. And I just have I think some days I just had like one massive meal. I was just eating less frequently and less calories and moving more, right? It's not rocket science. So yeah, I was eating them and I was enjoying them. And then I got back and I was just like, yeah, there was no desire to continue eating cereals, right? If I'm buying cereals like granola included, I'm going to overeat, right? So those foods are not designed to be moderated, my friend, right? So instead, what do I do? Just in a nutshell, I eat dark chocolate's my thing, right? Now, what works for me is not necessarily going to work for you. Dark chocolate is still really calorie dense, right? And even dark chocolate, I have like, say, 50 grams on average every time I eat it, 90%. You know, 1 or 2 squares, right, really is moderation. I'm having like 5 squares, right? 6 squares sometimes. Dark chocolate, Greek yogurt is my thing with fruit. And ultimately, that's kind of it, really. That's kind of like my guilty pleasures nowadays. And it sounds good, right? Like I'm in a good place. People are probably laughing, going, oh my God, that's your guilty pleasure. And obviously, every now and then, the granola or whatever and peanut butter. But that's pretty much it for me. But storing those things in the house is going to be setting you up to fail. Eat primarily whole foods. Get most of your protein through whole meat, right? Don't look at just, yes, if you hit a protein, the most important thing is hitting a protein target, right? Number one. Once you've done that, great. And you're doing that consistently, that's the most important thing. Number two, try then to get it all through whole meat. You know, your beef, your chicken, your fish, your eggs, right? And then I always say whey protein, powder, for example, use that as backup when you can't get enough through whole food, right? And sometimes just having it every day is fine as long as you're hitting your protein, right? It's biologically available, whey protein anyway, if you get good quality stuff. In terms of your body absorbs it really well, like eggs. It's a complete protein source, believe it or not. So that's fine. But protein bars, just eliminate them. I wouldn't bother. Have them as a treat here and there, right? You look at that as a treat. Look at it like UPF, I would, with protein bars personally. And some people might say that's a bit extreme, but trust me, I've seen these patterns. I know what's going on here. I know what's going on behind the engineering of these foods. So be mindful, my friend, right? So I want to finish this off with, right? I'm doing my weekly client call, right? I want to invite you to one of those this month, the one at the end of the month, on Friday the 29th at 9 a.m. Sydney time, which is 7 p.m., Thursday the 28th in Eastern time, America. If you have been thinking what it's like inside the program, you want to jump on one of these calls and ask some questions and get some clarity, you know, maybe you're stuck spinning your wheels, you get a ton of value from this call. And getting clarity is the key to everything, right? Whatever you do, even if you don't come to this call, ask yourself this question: have I got clarity on the goals and targets I need to be hitting now to help me level up my health and my body, if that's your goal? If you haven't got clarity and you haven't got any goals or targets to aim for, you're never going to get there, right? So if you want to jump on this call, I can help you with that, right? And you can also, you know, maybe get some different perspectives from clients and see, you know, how we vibe within the OYB tribe, right? But look, You don't want to miss this. If you've been thinking about potentially joining the program or working with me and you want to find out more, just click the link in the show notes. By the way, I'm only allowing 2 people to come to this call. So click the link in the show notes if you want to come along to this. And you just got to put your email and your name in there and you can come along and I'll see you there, legend, right? I'll send you the Zoom link. All right, over and out.